A nuclear war has wiped out the entire world, ushering in a wasteland filled with violence, strange phenomena, and bizarre creatures. On the rooftop of a luxurious mansion, the owner is hosting a birthday party for his young daughter. News broadcasts warn of an imminent nuclear war, yet the wealthy guests remain unfazed. They even invite Cooper, an elite U.S. Marine, to entertain the children. To support his daughter, Cooper accepts all kinds of client requests, but he refuses to give a thumbs up on camera. When his daughter asks why, he explains a battlefield rule: if the enemy drops a nuclear bomb, you hold up your thumb to measure the mushroom cloud. If it's smaller than your thumb, run for your life. If it's bigger, there's no point running. Then, he goes back to work. Suddenly, a blinding flash lights up the sky. The little girl innocently holds up her thumb and realizes the mushroom cloud is far bigger. Scorching heat rushes in. The mansion owner grabs the children and rushes them into the shelter, while Cooper grabs his daughter and rides off on horseback. In mere moments, the world is consumed. Flash forward 219 years. Inside Vault-Tec, built by a tech corporation, a young woman named Lucy is being interviewed by the Vault Council, hoping to have her marriage request approved. From her introduction, it's clear Vault life is comfortable, filled with hobbies, free from harm or hardship, almost idyllic. Her application is quickly approved. Lucy's father, Hank, the overseer of Vault-Tec, has prepared a perfect wedding for her. The only catch: neither of them knows who the groom will be. Since blood relatives can't marry, nearby vaults hold marriage exchanges every 3 years. The massive vault door opens, and the overseer of Vault-Tec arrives. Their barley crop has been completely wiped out by disease, devastating the vault. This marriage exchange will help the new overseer keep his position, as Hank is offering seeds and machine parts in return for a groom. Monty, the chosen man, steps forward, tall, handsome, and immediately charming Lucy. The two quickly wed in front of everyone. Hank, as the father of the bride, gives a speech. They've lived underground for 200 years, and with radiation levels expected to drop soon, perhaps Lucy and Monty's children will return to the surface one day. But Lucy's brother, Norm, notices something strange about Vault-Tec's people. He sneaks away from the ceremony and into Vault-Tec, finding it in ruins, with corpses everywhere. He hurries back to warn the others. Meanwhile, Lucy also senses something off about her new husband. Checking with her Pip-Boy, she learns Monty is actually a raider, a wasteland bandit. Just moments after being intimate, they're locked in a fight to the death. Lucy grabs a kitchen knife but is disarmed and stabbed. She quickly treats her wound and rushes outside to help. Vault-Tec has turned into a slaughterhouse. Most residents are dead. Lucy tries to save her brother, but Monty attacks again. Hank arrives just in time, knocks Monty out, and drowns him in a water tank. Then Hank is alerted that the barrier between the two vaults has been breached. He and Lucy rush there, finding raiders holding a large group of Vault-Tec residents hostage, demanding Lucy in exchange. Hank refuses, locks Lucy in a safe room, and is taken captive. "You look a lot like your mother. Where are you taking my father?" "To the real world." The raiders set a timed explosive and leave. The blast nearly destroys Vault-Tec entirely. The next day, the survivors began cleaning up and repairing the vault. Lucy suggested forming a search team to go out and find her father, but everyone left was more interested in claiming leadership than rescuing Hank. She finally realized one important truth: if you want something done, you'd better do it yourself. With help from Norm and her cousin, Lucy slipped out of Vault-Tec and set foot on the surface for the first time. The sheltered, pure-hearted young woman was now stepping into the real world. Cut to the wasteland. Maximus is a new recruit in the Brotherhood of Steel, a military order blending science and religion. Before the war, it had been a U.S. military base housing both soldiers and scientists. The Brotherhood has since dedicated itself to researching and reclaiming the irradiated wasteland. That day, a squad of knights wearing T-60 power armor returned from a mission. For lowly recruits like Maximus, who scrub latrines for a living, getting anywhere near that armor was impossible. He and fellow recruit Dane sneaked into the storage bay for a closer look, but their superior suddenly appeared and called Dane away. To Maximus's dismay, Dane wasn't punished. Instead, he was promoted to Knight Titus and assigned as the superior's squire, while Maximus remained stuck with grunt work. The next morning, Dane cried out in pain. Someone had hidden a razor blade in his boot, slicing his foot badly. The superior glanced at Maximus and decided to take the rookie along instead. Soon after, Maximus underwent the branding ceremony. A scorching hot tea seared into his back. Their first mission: the High Elder of the Brotherhood had received intel that a member of the Enclave had fled, carrying an item of immense potential. This object could destroy the nation or save it. The knights were ordered to scour every inch of the wasteland to find it. Wanted posters showed the target: an elderly man with glasses, walking a dog. Maximus packed his gear and set out with Knight Titus, glancing back at the base and vowing to make his mark. Meanwhile, a group of men searched a graveyard for a ghoul, humans warped by extreme radiation. Some retain their minds and reason, while others become feral and brain-dead. They found a sane ghoul, Cooper, the man from the opening scene. They wanted his help tracking the old man from the enclave for a hefty bounty. Cooper had no interest in helping. Within seconds, he wiped them out, even kicking the leader into a coffin. That old man had once worked in an enclave lab, specializing in training attack dogs. Lab policy required all pups under 280 grams to be euthanized, but the kind-hearted scientist falsified the weight of one pup, serial number CX404, to save it. He didn't hand 404 over for standard training. Instead, he hid and raised it himself. Under his care, 404 grew strong and healthy. But one day, a colleague discovered his violation and shoved him to the ground. 404 lunged, killing the scientist instantly to protect its master. Knowing he couldn't stay, the old man fled the enclave with 404 in a black duffel bag. Back to Lucy, wandering the barren wasteland, she came upon a small house by the shore. Inside were the skeletons of a family of 3. On the table sat a bottle of poison manufactured by Vault-Tec, the corporation that built the vaults. It was clear the family had chosen to die together in despair. That night, Lucy was awakened by heavy breathing. She opened her eyes to see 404 killing a radroach. The old man sat nearby and said the mutated roach's teeth could shred her into pieces, which is why no one on the surface lit fires at night. Lucy, completely unguarded, asked, "Do you know a woman named Moldaver? My father's been taken by her." The old man didn't answer Lucy's question. Instead, he warned her to return to the vault immediately. But Lucy wasn't about to give up. The next day, she approached a man to ask for directions.
"I ain't got weapons.
I just want to ask you for directions."
Lucy asked if he'd seen a group escorting a prisoner. He told her to check the town of Philly but warned it was extremely dangerous. Then, with a smirk, he suggested she stay and be his wife instead. "You might die out there. You won't have to put up with me for long." Meanwhile, Maximus and Knight Titus were also heading to Philly. Midway, Titus grew bored and, before reaching their destination, grabbed Maximus and jumped out of the vertibird. They landed several kilometers from Philly, forcing them to walk. Passing a forest cave, they found canned food and an overcoat belonging to the old man, clear signs the suspect had rested there. Outside the cave lay piles of white bones. Titus ordered Maximus to scout ahead. Inside, the cave was pitch black and seemed empty, until Maximus turned to leave and spotted a massive, radiation-mutated bear looming behind Titus. The beast clamped its jaws on him. Without his armor, his bones would have been crushed. Terrified, Titus was tossed around like a toy, until Maximus shot the creature dead. Instead of thanking him, Titus hurled insults to vent his anger, but he didn't realize the seemingly naive squire was no pushover. Maximus killed Titus, then donned the T-60 power armor he'd long dreamed of wearing. Wow! The sheer power of the armor left him in awe. Back in Philly, Lucy showed her father's photo around, but the locals were cold and unhelpful. Spotting a general store, she went inside and noticed many Vault-Tec devices. She accused the shopkeeper of doing business with criminals, and that she was looking for one named Moldaver. "Everyone knows who Moldaver is. Get out of here, Vault Dweller." The shopkeeper, who despised the wealthy hiding underground, shoved Lucy outside. There, Lucy ran into the bespectacled old man, who knew all about Vault 33's residence. Just then, the shopkeeper and Cooper appeared, calling him Dr. Wilzig. Cooper wanted to capture Wilzig for a bounty, while the shopkeeper had already been paid to escort him out of Philly. "I think the plans change." Enraged, the shopkeeper shouted, "Whoever caught the ghoul would get 1,000 bottle caps." The crowd pounced, only to be gunned down by Cooper. Amid the chaos, Lucy searched the shop's ledgers and found Moldaver's name. Cooper moved in on Wilzig, but 404 lunged at him. He shot the dog dead, right in front of Lucy. "I admit I don't know your circumstances. But from where I'm standing, you're treating this man unfairly." Cooper ignored her. At that moment, Maximus arrived, stepping in front of Lucy to take the bullet. The T-60's armor was nearly indestructible, and its built-in weapons kept Cooper pinned down. Lucy helped Wilzig into the shop, where the owner fitted him with a prosthetic leg. She then told Lucy to escort Wilzig to her client. Lucy refused, until the woman revealed the client was Moldaver, and that Wilzig could lead her straight to her father's captor. After brief hesitation, Lucy agreed. The shopkeeper entered coordinates into her Pip-Boy, and the unlikely pair slipped away in the chaos. Maximus, still clumsy with the armor, got his leg caught. Cooper took advantage, damaging the suit. Out of control, Maximus flew through the air like a deflating balloon before crashing face first at a nearby construction site. When Cooper returned to the shop, Wilzig was gone. Seeing 404 on the floor, barely alive, he injected it with a serum, hoping to track Wilzig through the dog. By then, Wilzig was at his limit. He secretly swallowed poison, pulled a knife from his bag, and told Lucy to cut off his head and deliver it to Moldaver. Because the object containing immense energy was hidden in his head, Wilzig spoke his last words and died instantly, leaving Lucy no chance to refuse. When Cooper arrived, he found only a headless body. Determined, he took 404 and set off to find Wilzig's head. Lucy carried the head, resting when tired, then moving on. For safety, she had hidden a tracker in Wilzig's nose, so even if she lost it, she could find it again. Following the signal, she reached an area near Hollywood Boulevard. At a lakeshore ahead, she spotted a deer and gently approached it. Suddenly, an unknown creature burst from the brush, dragging the deer away. Lucy drew her gun, but in the next instant, she was knocked down by another beast. She fired backward, escaping harm, but the bag containing the head was snatched and vanished beneath the water. She was about to dive in when Cooper pressed a gun to her head from behind, knocking her out with the stock. Searching the shore, he found no head, only slime, telling him the gulper had swallowed it. Cooper tied Lucy up and repeatedly dunked her into the lake to lure the gulper. The mutant predator took the bait, opening its massive jaws to swallow her. Lucy kicked it desperately. Cooper rushed in, only to be slammed aside by its tail. Lucy grabbed a nearby bag and smashed it into the creature's head, freeing her leg. 404 lunged in and bit the gulper, which retreated into the water in pain. Meanwhile, Maximus was trying to repair his armor. Titus's comms received a status check from command, forcing Maximus to answer as Titus, claiming his squire was dead. He needed 5 bottle caps for replacement parts and sold a tooth to pay for them. Exhausted, he also had to fend off thugs eyeing the armor. After finally driving them away, a vertibird arrived with a new squire from the Brotherhood of Steel. Fearing exposure, Maximus got inside the armor. He considered killing the newcomer, but the man's servile flattery satisfied his ego, so he let him live. The squire delivered new orders from the Elder. Not just the Brotherhood, but many factions were after the remnants of the old world. Whoever captured Wilzig could rule the wasteland, so the knights were to eliminate all obstacles. Learning that a ghoul was also hunting Wilzig, the squire began scanning for radiation traces. They soon found Wilzig's headless body. Maximus realized the head was the key and followed the trail. In Vault 33, 16 raiders from the surface were imprisoned. With the vault's population dwindling, the overseer hoped to rehabilitate them. Norm scoffed, suggesting killing them all for revenge, shocking everyone, as such violent ideas had never been voiced there. He quickly claimed he was joking. Just then, word came that the vault's water chip had been sabotaged, leaving only 2 months of water. Back in the wasteland, Maximus and his squire arrived at the Gulper's Lake. The scanner went wild, and the squire confirmed a radioactive creature was below. Moments later, the Gulper attacked. Maximus told the squire to fall back while he engaged, but he quickly ran out of ammo. As the Gulper lunged to swallow him, the squire shot it in the jaw. The wounded Gulper charged ashore and swallowed half the squire's body. Maximus rushed in, pulling him out, and, with the armor's strength, yanked out the creature's esophagus. It vomited onto the shore, disgorging Lucy's shoe and Wilzig's head. They had their target. Unaware of this, Cooper continued traveling with Lucy, and thus, the first 3 episodes of Fallout came to a close. What fate awaits Lucy next? If you enjoyed this recap, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe so you won't miss the upcoming episodes. Nuclear radiation has mutated living creatures, plunging the world into ruin. The descendants of the wealthy live deep underground in vaults, while the poor scrape by on the irradiated surface, until a scientist arrives with technology that could change everything. Multiple factions mobilize to capture him. Cooper passes a Westside clinic, hearing a man's screams inside. He sends Lucy to check, where she finds a ghoul named Roger, apparently someone Cooper knows. Roger is losing his mind and will soon turn feral. Ghouls need a special, and very expensive, drug to retain their sanity. This is why Cooper relentlessly hunts bounties. After reminiscing about old times, Cooper seizes a moment to put a bullet in Roger's head, a mercy compared to a slow, painful death. Then, he guts Roger and eats his organs. Survival rules in this wasteland. At first, Lucy refuses, but thirst and hunger overwhelm her. She now drinks filthy roadside water without hesitation. Cooper tries to mock her but suddenly starts coughing violently. Lucy seizes the chance to run, but a deep pit blocks her path. Cooper catches her, and when she bites his finger, he draws a knife and presses it to hers. After a tense struggle, they calm down. Cooper arrives at a supermarket, contacting the supplier by radio, trading for a healthy girl. The supplier wants to inspect the goods. but as soon as Lucy enters, Cooper collapses. Inside, a robot notices her missing finger and escorts her to a back room, attaching a replacement taken from a drawer. It's the first kindness Lucy has felt since leaving the vault. She assumes she's being sold into slavery. No, that's disgusting. I just want your organs. The robot sedates her and pushes her deeper inside, past glass cells holding ghouls. It presents her to two gang leaders, who tell it to strip anything valuable from her. The robot wheels her into an operating room, chainsaw in hand. Lucy grabs a defibrillator, zapping the chainsaw and shorting the robot. She quickly takes cleaning chemicals from a pipe, then forces the robot at gunpoint into the leader's presence. It's a robot. Yeah, and you're holding an air conditioner hostage. Lucy aims the robot's gun, claiming it's loaded with poison. The leaders back down, agreeing to let her go, but she demands they free all ghouls. Reluctantly, they do. Lucy then insists on opening all remaining cells, unaware they hold feral ghouls. The leaders are torn apart by the ferals. A nearly feral ghoul emerges. Lucy hesitates to kill it but knows the wasteland's rules, and pulls the trigger. She leaves with the medicine. Outside, Cooper is still unconscious. Anyone else would have killed him, but Lucy, though shaped by this wasteland, hasn't lost herself. She leaves the medicine and walks away. Cooper recovers, storms the supermarket, and finds a tape, The Man from Dead Horse, a hit film he starred in after leaving the military. The supermarket owner, it turns out, is a fan. In Vault 33, Norm remains set on punishing criminals. They've detained all of Vault 32's residents. I don't know what Vault 32 is planning, but I know they're not innocent. Puzzled, Norm tries to access their records but is denied. He and his cousin Chet sneak into the abandoned vault, crossing dead fields into the overseer's office. They scan a corpse's Pip-Boy and discover its last life signal was 2 years ago, meaning the residents died before the invaders came. So who killed them? Nearby, a TV plays a news segment about a colony of well-fed rats, but as their population explodes, they fight over dwindling food, ultimately turning to cannibalism to survive. The two felt a chill run down their spines. Vault 32 seemed just like the rat colony described on the TV. Their suspicions were quickly confirmed. Bodies lay on the ground, strangling each other, and on the wall, scrawled in blood, were the words, "We know the truth." Norm and Chet pressed on, entering the overseer's office. There sat the decomposing body of the overseer, tied to a chair, wearing a grotesque, insane grin. Norm accessed the overseer's terminal and discovered that all of Vault 32's doors had been opened from the outside, something only possible with a personal terminal. Tracing the login, Norm found it belonged to his own mother, Rose. No wonder Moldaver knew Lucy. Still, Norm didn't suspect his mother. She'd been dead for years. He assumed someone had stolen her terminal. They reached the junction between Vault 32 and Vault 31. The corpses here were twice as numerous. Apparently, people had tried to break into Vault 31. Chet urged Norm to leave before their absence raised suspicion, unaware that Betty had already noticed Norm's unusual behavior. But Norm had no intention of stopping. He investigated vault records and learned that, besides his father, every overseer of Vault 33 had been transferred from Vault 31. At that very moment, Vault 33 elected a new overseer, Betty, who also came from Vault 31. Norm shared his suspicions with Chet, but Chet wasn't surprised. The overseer of Vault 32 had also come from Vault 31, which had more abundant food supplies. They even had a saying, "If things go bad, run to Vault 31. Chet's fiancée was from Vault 31 as well. Norm asked what was so special there. "The mashed potatoes are a little better. My father used to say the same thing." Freshly in office, Betty led Vault 33 residents on a tour of Vault 32, planning to move some people there to rebuild. Norm noticed the place was spotless, no corpses, no bloodstains. Betty explained that to reuse the vault, it had to be cleaned entirely. Norm asked, "Where's my mother's terminal?" Betty replied, "Buried with Rose's body. Your father and I did it ourselves." Cut to Maximus. After a grueling battle, he and Thaddeus forged a revolutionary camaraderie. Thaddeus suggested Maximus carve a T for Titus as a show of loyalty to the Brotherhood. Moved, Maximus removed his helmet, revealing his face. Thaddeus instantly turned on him, threatening to expose his false identity. Maximus moved to kill him, but in the struggle, Thaddeus pulled the armor's key, removed the fusion core, and left Maximus trapped inside. Taking Woolzig's head, Thaddeus set off to claim the glory, leaving Maximus stranded all night. A swarm of radroaches appeared, trying to crawl into the armor. At that moment, Lucy arrived and blasted one apart. She recognized the man who had once saved her, but in her current mindset, she couldn't trust anyone. She'd followed the head's tracker to this spot and had no intention of getting involved. Lucy began vomiting, a sign of radiation poisoning. Maximus said, "There's rat-away in my forearm compartment. Get me out, and I'll help you. If you pass out, we both die. Trust me, please. What's your name?" "I'm Knight Titus." In the end, Lucy freed him. Maximus would one day regret not telling her his real name. Once injected with the medicine, Lucy regained her strength. Maximus prepared to pursue Thaddeus and reclaim the vital item, and Lucy quickly guessed it was Wilzig's head. She proposed, "I can track it for you. In return, the Brotherhood lends me 5 or 6 knights to find my father." Fearing Thaddeus might report him, Maximus agreed. As they traveled, 2 suspicious men appeared ahead on the tracks, about 10 meters away, asking if they were armed. Maximus calmly said no, though he was eyeing an opening to strike. Lucy, puzzled, thought, "We have weapons, why deny it? Do travelers have to make everything a fight?" She suggested, "Let's raise our hands and walk along the edge, that way, no one gets hurt." As the 2 groups closed in, the woman opposite them revealed a vicious look. In a split second, both Lucy and Maximus drew their guns. Fortunately, Maximus was faster, killing them both. He took a bullet to the arm, but when he checked the bodies, he discovered they belonged to the Devil's Fangs, a cannibal gang. Hearing this, Lucy felt a wave of despair. If not for her father, she would never set foot on the surface again. Before long, they reached Shady Sands, the first capital of the new California Republic. After the war, 3,400 people once lived there, sharing the same goal as the Vaults, to rebuild civilization in the wasteland. But California's plans failed, and the city was lost. Maximus had been one of the few survivors, but he shared little. With his wound still bleeding, they went to the Hawthorne laboratory, run by Vault-Tec. Lucy rushed inside to find a medkit, and Maximus followed out of concern. In an instant, Lucy vanished. Maximus pushed through the main door, only to be trapped. When they awoke, they found themselves in Vault 4. Over 200 years ago, before the nuclear war, Cooper had worked as a Vault-Tec representative, promoting Vault 4, with 91 centimeters thick walls to block all radiation. Vault-Tec selected 80 volunteers to live there for a 5-year trial. Back then, Cooper had a brief exchange with Bud Askins, a T-45 power armor designer who had just joined Vault-Tec. Loyal to the Vault program, Bud claimed humanity's future depended on one word: management. Cooper dismissed him, more interested in attending a movie premiere with his wife. The glamour of the past was still vivid, but now, Cooper lay on a supermarket floor, only to be knocked out by a group claiming to be government agents. In Vault 4, Maximus was treated, and a search team was sent to recover Titus's armor. Most residents were refugees from Shady Sands. Unlike Lucy, who had been born underground, Birdie ordered them into quarantine to ensure they carried no hazardous material. Lucy quickly let her guard down, unaware that the monitor outside labeled her as a test subject. Hours later, they were released and allowed to roam the vault. Maximus wanted to leave, but Lucy insisted he stay for proper treatment. The overseer arrived, giving them rules and warning them to avoid level 12. The one-eyed overseer looked strange, and Lucy noticed most residents bore mutations from radiation. Still, something felt off. In conversation, she learned the overseer despised surface dwellers, but due to old regulations, Vault 4 was forced to accept them. When she asked about level 12, she was promptly thrown out. Meanwhile, Maximus, curious about the vault's power source, searched until he found a fusion core. He was about to steal it when Birdie appeared, telling him she had arranged a room for him, a luxury in the wasteland. For the first time in his life, Maximus enjoyed a hot shower and devoured a can of fish without worry. Back to Cooper, over 2 centuries earlier. Tired of Hollywood's falseness, he wanted to move his family back to the countryside. His wife, Barb, refused. Quitting Vault-Tec would mean losing her vault placement. "We have money, we can buy a spot in a vault. But not a good spot." Cooper was puzzled. Were there bad vaults? Barb started to explain, then stopped. From this, it's clear there's a greater secret behind the vaults, and Vault 4, where Lucy now stayed, might not be safe. Cooper then visited his friend Charlie, who was working against Vault-Tec. Charlie warned him to walk away, saying the US government had entrusted humanity's survival to the corporation. For years, Vault-Tec had profited billions by selling vaults based on the fear of apocalypse, effectively controlling the nation. Charlie asked if Cooper had considered that, should peace talks succeed, Vault-Tec would lose everything, and so, they would surely interfere, sabotaging negotiations to ensure the end of the world. He handed Cooper a business card, inviting him to a meeting. The conversation left a mark on Cooper. The next day, Cooper learned that one of the vault's rules was no dogs allowed. He asked his wife, who made that rule, and what other rules will they come up with next? Barb told him not to fuss over details, but Cooper saw the bigger problem. Someone was making rules unilaterally, without consulting anyone, an issue of democracy and freedom. Barb, irritated, said she worked hard so their family could get into a special vault for the management class, one that monitored other vaults. It was, in her view, the best arrangement for the end times. This conversation revealed that vaults had different ranks and functions. Back in the present, Cooper was brought before a man calling himself president. His old friend Sorrel, the super-duper mart, was under Sorrel's jurisdiction, and if he didn't punish Cooper for destroying it, people would lose faith in the government. But in Cooper's current state, leaving was effortless. He quickly dispatched Sorrel's guards, then pointed at a wanted poster. Why is this woman wanted? That's Moldaver. I remember her looking different. In fact, over 200 years earlier, after joining the group Charlie had introduced him to, Cooper had met Moldaver. Meanwhile, in Vault 4, Lucy was taken to a strange ritual where people chanted in unison, "Mother of Flame, save us, to return to Shady Sands, blood must be shed." They then hung portraits of Moldaver, calling her the Mother of Flame. Lucy realized Maximus had been right, this place was unsafe. But Maximus, now hooked on canned fish, didn't want to leave. Determined, Lucy headed for level 12 to uncover the truth. There, she found jars of formalin and a video showing a woman giving birth to gulper hatchlings before being devoured by them. The floor was filled with cryopods. It was clearly a site for human experimentation. A researcher entered, and Lucy accidentally made a noise. The alarm blared. Though she fought back, there were too many opponents, and Birdie captured her. For now, she was safe. The Overseer and Birdie showed her footage of Vault 4's first-generation residents, who had conducted human experiments, until the subjects went rogue, killing the Overseer and wiping out the original population. Their descendants, the mutated residents Lucy saw, looked strange because their ancestors had been altered. The creature in the video was the Overseer's mother's uncle. The Vault no longer conducted experiments to spare them further suffering. Did Vault 33 ever conduct experiments? Never. Birdie didn't believe her, and, hating first-gen residents, wanted to teach Lucy a lesson. Maximus, lounging in his quarters, saw Lucy being taken away and finally set down his popcorn. Lucy was brought to the square, where the Overseer held a knife. Just as she thought she was doomed, he cut her bonds. Their execution was simply banishing criminals to the surface, with 2 weeks' worth of supplies. Lucy had overestimated the danger. They looked frightening but were kind at heart. She asked the Overseer to take Maximus in, knowing he liked it here. But Maximus had stolen a fusion core, intending to power his armor and rescue Lucy. He charged in, knocking residents aside. Lucy rushed to explain.
Sorry, somebody maybe check on him?
Lucy couldn't risk destroying a whole community for her father's sake. She made Maximus return the fusion core. Over time, Lucy had grown fond of Maximus. She invited him. When this is all over, you could come live with me in Vault 33. Moved, Maximus confessed his true identity, bracing for her to abandon him like Thaddeus, but she didn't. Though she'd been in the wasteland only 2 weeks, she knew it could push people beyond their limits. Maximus's honesty proved he wasn't a bad man. They shared a smile and continued their journey. Over 200 years ago, Cooper met Moldaver for the first time. Through their conversation, he learned she had been a nuclear energy scientist. Just as her project neared success, Cooper's wife acquired her company. For more than a decade, the United States had been locked in a resource war, and Vault-Tec had purchased any invention that could end it, because such breakthroughs would destroy their business model. After explaining, Moldaver slipped Cooper a listening device and told him to plant it on his wife. Too curious to resist, he attached it to her bracelet. Back in the present, Thaddeus was traveling with Wilzig's head. 404 trailed him, trying to snatch it, but Thaddeus ignored the dog. At a gas station, he removed his shoe to check an injury. His left foot had been crushed by power armor and was badly deformed. He left his baggage behind, taking only the head and the fusion core, and locked 404 in a refrigerator before continuing. A man claiming to be a doctor caught up, offering a serum that could cure any ailment. Thaddeus planned to shoot him and steal it, but the doctor's kit contained dozens of unlabeled vials. Using the wrong one could mean death. Instead, Thaddeus traded the fusion core for the serum. Fortunately, the doctor had told the truth. His ankle healed instantly. When he asked about a nearby radio station to contact his base, the doctor told him to head for Shady Sands. Thaddeus set off, unaware that soon after, Cooper arrived at the gas station. On his way to the observatory to find Moldaver, he discovered 404 trapped and freed him. Before the war, Cooper had owned a dog, and he'd always loved them. Meanwhile, Thaddeus reached the radio station, contacting the Brotherhood and waiting for extraction. But before they arrived, Lucy and Maximus showed up. Thaddeus immediately drew his gun. Lucy said she meant no harm, she only wanted the head. As he backed away, Thaddeus triggered a ghoul trap and was shot through the neck with an arrow. Strangely, he didn't die. The wound healed rapidly. The serum had actually been ghoul poison. Seeing the Brotherhood's vertibird approaching, Thaddeus panicked. They would never spare a ghoul. Maximus told him, "Give me the head, I'll stall them." He handed the head to Lucy, then smashed a random corpse's head to use as a decoy. The plan was for Lucy to take the real head to Moldaver to save her father, and they would meet later at Vault 33. Back at Vault 33, someone had poisoned the prison food, killing several inmates. Betty ignored it and continued her relocation plan, moving part of the population to Vault 32. Norm and Chet were assigned to different locations. Chet refused to investigate further. "You're a coward." "We both are, Norm. That's why we live in the vault." Vault 32 needed a new overseer. Steph, a first-generation resident of Vault 31, took the role. During the farewells, Norm slipped into the overseer's office and used Betty's account to contact the Vault 31 overseer, asking to return. The reply came, "You've been discovered, haven't you?" Clearly, Betty was hiding something. Norm answered that the mission wasn't going as planned. After some hesitation, the overseer agreed to open Vault 31 for his return. Inside Vault 31, Norm was stopped by a human brain robot. It scanned him, saw he wasn't Betty, and tried to jab him with a syringe, but it was too small to pose any threat. Norm walked past, while the robot shouted behind him, "Don't read that, don't turn on the lights, don't check the data, don't check the endpoint." It was practically giving itself away, and Norm was now one step from the truth. Elsewhere, Maximus's fake head didn't fool the Elder, but Maximus promised to lead the Brotherhood to the real one. The Elder was ready to kill him, but Dane pleaded for his life. At last, the Elder agreed to trust Maximus one more time, even promising that if they succeeded, they would rebuild the Brotherhood together and rule the wasteland. Lucy finally reached her destination. To her surprise, it was like an above-ground vault where people lived self-sufficiently and in peace. She followed soldiers to the top floor, where her father, Hank, was locked in a cage. Moldaver was dining with a ghoul. Lucy placed the head on her plate, demanding her father's release. Moldaver removed something from the brain and asked, "Don't you want to know what kind of man your father really is?" Over 200 years ago, Cooper went to his wife's company to ensure the listening device's signal was stable. At that time, the senior executives were in a meeting, and the story picks up from here. Norm, Lucy, and Cooper were about to learn the truth behind the vaults. Years ago, project founder Bud Askins faced a critical problem. What if, after the nuclear war, there were still survivors outside? If vault dwellers emerged, they might be hunted and eaten. So, Bud stockpiled enough food for centuries, because time itself was the deadliest predator. They didn't need to be stronger than outsiders, only to outlast them. But living underground for so long brought another problem. Like rats in a cage, they would eventually turn on each other. Bud Askins and Barb devised a solution: over 100 vaults across the U.S., each overseen by a senior executive who could manage them according to personal philosophy, selecting the strongest generations and eliminating the excess population. The executives discussed ways to maintain dominance.
We could separate parents and children, and only the smartest kids reach adulthood.
Bud proposed building 3 interconnected vaults, Vaults 31, 32, and 33. Vault 31 would hold cryopods for the first-generation executives, allowing them to live for centuries. These people put self-interest above all else. Vaults 32 and 33 would serve as breeding pools, with Vault 31 testing and filtering their populations to produce an elite leadership class. After wiping out all outsiders, these leaders would rule the earth. Betty and Hank were among such executives. One skeptic asked, how could they be sure the apocalypse would happen?
By dropping the bomb ourselves.
Cooper was shaken. At that moment, a fan approached for an autograph. It was Hank. Lucy now saw her father's true face. Moldaver told her that her mother had discovered humans outside had rebuilt civilization. She took the children out of the vault and settled in Shady Sands. But Hank found them, took the children, and destroyed the town. For years, Vault-Tec had treated outsiders this way. Inside Wilzig's brain was a fusion core stolen by Vault-Tec, capable of rebuilding civilization, but only an insider knew the password. That's why Moldaver captured Hank. When Lucy asked about her mother, her eyes fell on a necklace around a ghoul's neck. Only bones remained. This was the mother she'd longed for.
She's lying, Lucy.
Give her the code.
Knowing he'd lose his daughter forever otherwise, Hank revealed it, but warned Lucy that Moldaver was no savior. At that moment, the Brotherhood arrived, turning the observatory into a battlefield. Surface dwellers were no better than vault dwellers, slaughtering each other for control, all claiming to be saviors, yet destroying the world themselves. Lucy lost her faith in humanity. Cooper arrived, exploiting his knowledge of power armor weaknesses to bring down several knights. Maximus pushed through the crossfire, unlocked Hank's cage, and tried to take Lucy back to Vault 33. He had spent his life searching for a place to belong, and now he had it, but Lucy told him Hank had destroyed Shady Sands, his home. Hank, now in power armor, knocked Maximus unconscious, intending to take Lucy away, but Cooper shot him. "Where is my family?" Knowing Cooper wouldn't kill him, Hank jumped from the tower and fled. Cooper knew Hank was heading for the mastermind and asked Lucy if she wanted to join the hunt. Staying meant certain death at the hands of the Brotherhood. After a few seconds' hesitation, Lucy shot her ghoul mother and left with Cooper. When Maximus woke, Lucy was gone. Moldaver managed to activate the fusion core, and lights illuminated the buildings. She died in satisfaction, clutching her wound.
You killed her.
Maximus's mission was now entirely at odds with Lucis. That's the complete story of the newly released sci-fi series Fallout. What did you think of the show? On a scale of 1 to 10, how would you rate it? Leave your answer in the comments below. Thanks for watching, and see you next time.